What made you realize that some people's love comes with a price tag? When I was a kid, my parents expected me to injure myself once a month and take photos to build character through pain. They believed suffering was the only way to grow. My dad had served in the military and lost 3 fingers in combat. He kept those fingers in a sealed jar on our fireplace mantle, and during family meetings, he'd hold the jar while telling us how each loss made him tougher. He spoke about pain like it was a sacred teacher. My mom had been a trauma nurse. She'd bring home photos of injuries she saw at work and study them like they were art. She said understanding pain made you smarter. So on my 10th birthday, instead of getting the bike I had begged for, they handed me a leather-bound photo album and a box of medical tools, wrapped neatly in sterile packaging. That night, they sat me down at the kitchen table, where Mom had laid out bandages and antiseptic. Dad brought out his own childhood portfolio, full of pictures of himself with different injuries, scraped knees, broken arms, and eventually something with his eye that made me want to throw up. They explained that it was my turn now. 1 injury per month. Each one had to be worse than the last. It would show my growth. I asked what would happen if I said no. My dad looked me straight in the face and said, "Then you're not our daughter anymore. We'll give our love to someone who earns it." The first month, I hit my pinky with a hammer because I didn't know what else to do. They were disappointed. Said it lacked creativity. By the 6th month, I'd started burning myself with heated metal. That finally got their approval. After a year, they invited other portfolio families over. Their kids had albums too. We'd sit around comparing scars while the adults discussed healing time and which injuries taught the best lessons. I once watched a girl my age take out her glass eye while her parents smiled with pride. By year 2, it had turned into a full-blown ritual. Every month, both my parents helped to make sure I used the right technique and caused the right amount of damage. They taught me how to break bones the clean way, which burns scarred deeper, and how to stitch myself up. My mom said going to the hospital ruined the point. Worse than the injuries? The essays. I had to write reports analyzing what I'd learned from each wound and how it had improved me. When my younger brother turned 10, I was the one holding the camera for his first entry. I caught myself repeating the same phrases they used on me: "Don't flinch. Stay strong. This is for your future." After 3 years, I was out of ideas. I couldn't hurt myself badly enough to impress them anymore. They started talking about permanent sacrifices, which fingers I used the least, or whether I really needed both eyes for depth perception. Then they revealed their plans for my 16th birthday. A transformation ceremony, they called it. I would remove something that wouldn't grow back. That night, I locked myself in my room and refused to do my monthly injury. For the first time in years, my body had a chance to start healing. I went to school like a regular kid. Ate lunch without logging how hunger made me resilient. Watched a movie and actually laughed. No journal. No essay. For 2 weeks, I felt almost normal. I started dreaming of a life outside their twisted world. Then they blindsided me. They'd been documenting my defiance as a new form of pain. They took photos of me through the windows, logged my sleep patterns, and showed me records of everything I did during my rebellion. They even brought in my cousin, just accepted to med school, who proudly showed off her own portfolio. I couldn't even look at some of the entries without gagging. When I still refused to go back to the program, they stopped feeding me and locked me in the basement. Left me with photo albums from family members who had died during their transformations. Eventually, my school counselor noticed something was wrong. I had lost weight, and some of my wounds were infected from lack of care. When child services came, my parents had everything ready: essays I'd written praising the system, signed consent forms, and years of records. The investigator was disturbed, but said without proof of force, it wasn't technically abuse. 3 other families testified about how successful their children had become using the same methods. The judge started siding with them. Said it was an unconventional but consistent educational philosophy. My parents' lawyer even drafted custody terms that included catch-up injury entries for the months I had missed. As I sat there, I started mentally choosing which finger I could lose and still be able to write. I thought I'd never escape. Then the courtroom doors opened, and in walked my grandfather. Everyone thought he'd died 20 years ago in a so-called final transformation, but he hadn't. He'd escaped. And he'd spent the last 2 decades gathering evidence, photos, letters, family records, dating back to the 1890s. He showed the court photos of children just like me, missing parts, covered in bandages, scars that weren't from accidents. He had proof that people who resisted either disappeared or were found dead under unexplained circumstances. The judge's expression changed completely when my grandfather revealed the cemetery where rebellious family members were buried, unmarked, undocumented, forgotten. Now I live under a new name, in a new state, and I've never looked back.